want to get your thoughts on some of the things in the wider boxing scene. I want to start off with a fight that we all thought we'd get to see, undisputed heavyweight clash. It seems to have fallen out. Anthony Joshua, Tyson Fury, Anthony Joshua. What's your take on the situation there? And us as you being a boxing man, but also a boxing fan, not getting to see that fight next.
Well, I'm sick of hearing it, to be honest with you. I mean, it's been in the making for 5 years, talking about it for 5 years. And then when the COVID came, I thought to myself, we've lost it. You know what I mean? It's not going to happen. Ideally, we'd like it at Wembley, wouldn't we, in front of 100,000 fans. But, you know, but when they mentioned Saudi Arabia, I thought, well, of course, we'd much rather have it at Wembley, but at least we're getting it. That's what I thought. At least the fight's going to happen, you know. So, but then, you know, Wilder's put a spanner in the works that he's won a court case, you know, where he has to fight him first. So it looks like Tyson will have to fight him. It looks like Joshua might have to fight Usyk, which, you know, I mean, I think Tyson beats Wilder again, but what with the punching power of Wilder, you never know. And I think Joshua beats Usyk, but, you know, with the tricky style that Usyk has got, they're not an easy fight, so we could still lose it. You know, if one of them loses that fight, he's gone, isn't it? You know, which is a crying shame. You know, I mean, Wilder wants step aside money of 20 million. I don't think he deserves 20 million after his last performance. It's one thing having a rematch clause, but surely that should be based on your performance. You know what I mean? Yeah, you can have a rematch if you perform, but he got absolutely destroyed. It was a mismatch, you know. So why, you know? And then he has the cheek to come and ask for 20 million. Is he taking the piss? I just think it's madness. You know what I mean? But you know, that's for. I mean, I'm not a boxing promoter. You know, that's for the you know, the board and the promoters. You know, what I think to myself, surely, you know, you can have a rematch if you perform and it's an entertaining fight, but not when you get punched from pillar to post.
You've been involved in mega fights, for example, Mayweather, Pacquiao. This was a mega fight in its kind. What do we as boxing fans not know about what goes behind the scenes to make those fights? What don't we see? And what do you think kind of happened here to, you know, for the fight not to happen, apart from the arbitration, of course?
Well, I don't know. It's very. I mean, 9 times out of 10, fighters want the fights. I've no doubt Tyson wants to fight. I've no doubt AJ wants to fight. Then it's always politics, and the politics tends to be when each fighter has a different TV company, each fighter has a different promoter. You know, Tyson's the lineal heavyweight champion, but AJ's got all the belts, all these stuff, you know, so I should get a bigger percentage than him and this and that, and sometimes agreements can't be made, which is a shame. I think it'd be a crying shame for our sport if this fight isn't made. It'd be the biggest fight in British boxing history, and if for some reason it doesn't happen because of the rematch clauses with Wilder or because of that, I think we should hang our head in shame a little bit, you know.
Hand on heart, do you think we will see it in the next couple of years? Do you think we will?
I don't know. I really don't think we will see it, to be honest with you. I think those, if Joshua fights Usyk, that's a tough fight. Even though Wilder won the last fight easily with that punching power Wilder's got, that's not easy. And all it needs is, because of the last fight, Tyson get a little bit complacent and he could, you know. So I don't think so. But I mean, in an ideal world, they both fight them fights, they both win them, they fight November time or something like that.
Fury Wilder 3, let's talk about that a little bit. Wilder's disassociated himself with JD's and he's brought in Malik Scott. It looks like from the training footage that we've seen that they've put out, Malik Scott, the heavyweight Malik Scott, he's now training with Deontay Wilder. It looks like from the footage we've seen online, the little bits of it that they're trying to mimic Tyson Fury's style. My question to you is, do you think we can see a Wilder that's rejuvenated and got different strings to his bow that could potentially offset Tyson Fury?
A few different things in his training, a little bit more composure, thinking about his shots. I mean, normally, he was swinging from the back of the room, wasn't he? You know, his shots, but it looks like he's working on things a little bit more composed, so maybe he is. But I mean, having said that, it's very hard to prepare. How do you prepare for Tyson Fury? You know, 1 minute he's orthodox, 1 minute he's southpaw, 1 minute he's stood on your chest battering you, next minute he's laying back, rope-a-doping. You know, I mean, it's so hard. But I think, I mean, if one thing that he is probably doing right, Wilder, is trying to, you know, be a little bit more composed, because if you're gonna catch Tyson, you're gonna catch Tyson with a straight one or a nice short one or a composed one. you're not going to get Tyson with one of them ones, are you? You know what I mean? So he's probably going on about the right thing, but I still think it's a big ask for him to beat Tyson.
You've seen Tyson firsthand in the first fight. You fight one way, and a lot of people thought he won the first fight. We've seen Tyson the second way around fight a different way, and he won that one conclusively. How do you think the third fight would go?
It's very hard to say. I think Tyson will probably go out in the first round and just have a bit more of a look at him this time, because I mean, you know, I mean, obviously, you know, Wilder will go away and prepare differently, won't he? You know, so I think he'd be foolish to think, oh, I'll just go out there and do the same again. You know, Tyson's a thinking man. He's a clever fighter. You know, he's not stupid. He'll go out there, and I think he'll just take the fight from there. If he feels that he's getting on top, he's finding the target easy enough, I think he'll put his foot down. But I think Tyson has a clever enough boxing brain to know that, you know, what he did last time, there's no guarantee he'll do it again. So I think he'll just see how he'll take the fight, see how it goes in the early rounds.
Moving on to an undisputed clash that we are going to get tomorrow, Josh Taylor versus Jose Ramirez. Brilliant fight in the offing. Just your thoughts on that fight?
Yeah, 50-50 fight, I think. They've both got a common opponent. I think Taylor beat him on a unanimous. Ramirez beat him on a split. Very similar records, do you know what I mean? But I think I'd go with Josh Taylor, to be honest with you. I think he'll be able to outbox Ramirez in the early rounds. And even though he's a smooth boxer, Josh Taylor, you know, skillful, very skillful. He's certainly no wet lettuce, you know what I mean? You know, when it comes to the trenches, he'll certainly be able to have it out as well, which I think he'll have the early rounds. I think down the home straight, Ramirez will come on, but I think Josh Taylor will have the guts to dig in, drag it out, and edge it up and get his nose over the finishing line, yeah.
We talked about the heavyweights earlier, just a short moment ago. Daniel Dubois is going to be back in the ring after an eye injury. How do you expect he'll return, having come back from what was a tough fight against Joe Joyce, and now he's back in for the WBA interim title, I believe it is?
It's very hard to say, to be honest. Only Daniel knows how serious the injury was. I mean, you can't get more serious injury, you know, than, you know, Kell Brook had one, didn't he, against Golovkin. Billy Joe Saunders had one recently against Canelo. I couldn't think of a worse injury than boxing, than having an injury next to your eye socket, you know. But I mean, Daniel will know the reasons for why he had to pull the fight, you know what I mean. At the time, he'll know. Only him would have spoke to the doctors, and the doctors have filled him in with a position with his eye. Only Daniel will know this, and hopefully he's a fantastic addition to the heavyweight division. You know, one of the young guns coming up. You know, we've got, you know, Tyson at the top and AJ, and we've got the conveyor belt coming through, which is Daniel. We want to be part of that. So it'll be interesting to just see what happens. You know what I mean? It's a very, very serious injury, but I mean, Daniel will be having the right advice from the right doctors, and hopefully he'll be able to go on and move on with his career.
A couple more things from myself. Jake Paul, it seems, has signed a deal to have shows broadcast on ESPN and Showtime. This is a YouTuber who's come from the YouTube world, who's brought up a lot of support and a lot of followers and brought a lot of eyes into the boxing world. Just what are your thoughts on someone like Jake Paul, who's not strictly a boxer, getting that spotlight?
I've not really seen him box that much. The only thing I can see is he looks a dick. But I mean, you know, he might. I've not really seen it. I've seen little clips of him, but I can't really comment on how good his boxing skills. I just think it's incredible how a YouTuber with only a handful of fights can fight the greatest fighter the world's ever seen. You know, unbelievable. Surely money's got to be more important than, you know, I mean, he's got enough money. You know, I think he's tarnishing his legacy. Do you know what I mean? And then, you know, I don't know. I mean, maybe, listen, you know, the money makes the world turn round, but the thing is, I mean, for someone who was fighting the fans was something that meant so much to me. Yeah. Anyone who calls himself Money Mayweather, you know, he's not bothered about the fans, and he's not, you know. I mean, I just think the entertainment business has took over the boxing business, you know, now. I mean, to be honest with you, you know, it doesn't matter. You know, more people will watch that fight than the Mayweather Pacquiao fight. because he's a YouTuber, you know, and he's got 70 million followers or stuff like that. I just think boxing a few years ago we were complaining there was only too many weight divisions and there was too many belts and there's too many. Now we've got, you know, catch weights, mixed sports, YouTubers versus boxers, UFC versus boxers. You know, I don't know. I mean, you know, if they can get the money, I suppose who can blame them? But I mean, surely Floyd's got enough.
Is it weird for you, or do you sort of take it personally, since because that's a fight that you fought against Floyd Mayweather, and now, you know, however many years down the line, you're seeing the same fighter take on an exhibition against Logan Paul. Do you kind of get annoyed when you see that because that's a fighter that you fought?
Listen, at the end of the day, I like to think I earned my shot at Floyd. I beat Costa, and then I unified the belts, won the WBA title, then I moved up a weight, won the WBA welterweight title, then I moved back down, won the IBF light welter title, then I knocked out another guy called Jose Luis Castillo. I said, so I'd like to think, because of the names that I beat, I deserved the shot to fight Floyd Mayweather. He's got the shot because he's got 72 million fucking followers. There's a difference. You know what I mean? That's what I can't get my head around, but I mean, hey, good luck to them all.
What does it say about the sport, the position it's in now?
Well, you know, I mean, I think the sport, you know, there's a lot of good fights being made, you know what I mean, and that, but I think sometimes this just takes away from that.